As I'm checking over this Minolta X-700 35mm film SLR camera in preparation for sale, I thought I'd just make a video here and show you all the things that I'm checking over on this camera and that are a good idea to check over anytime you encounter one of these, just to assess its condition. And so I have a set of batteries. These are not included, but I'm going to put those in here on the bottom. I'm going to use a nickel because it just fits the coin slot, so that being a good fit, it will not mess up the slot on the bottom of the battery holder. The battery holder shows which way to put the batteries in, so I'm going to put these in and then stick that in. And I always like to back it up until I hear that click, then I know the threads are engaged and we're not going to cross thread or do any damage. Okay, so now we have the batteries in. I thought the first thing I'm going to do is just go down through the shutter speeds, and I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to turn it on to the setting that doesn't put any beep out. And so I'm just going to do here 1/1000th of a second, 1/500th, 1/250th, 1/100th, 1/60th, 1/30th, 1/15th, 1/8th. And I'm going to stop the lens down here just because, well, maybe it was, I just wasn't able to see here. We're going to go down here to 1/4 of a second. We can see the blades closing down inside there, so we know that's working. 1/2 a second, 1 full second, and the bulb setting, which keeps the it runs the shutter and keeps the lens stopped down as long as I hold the button, and we can see in there, and then I'm going to let up on that. Okay. I'm going to try out the self timer. That's this little, on this X700, you just lift that up. I'm going to just point this at us here. You can see the little light blinking, so we know it's preparing to work. And there it is. The other thing that I do, I always look through, and I'll set it on something, on a setting, and look through the viewfinder, make sure that the viewfinder is nice and clear, and it certainly is on this one, and that that any displays that are supposed to operate in there do. And this one does. If I put my finger on the shutter button while it's working and point it in different directions, I can see the LEDs, or the red lights, over on the right side of the screen moving up and down like they should. So we know that it's the light sensitivity is working. This camera has an automatic setting here. I believe it's an aperture priority. I'm going to flip this over to the beep setting here. Okay, see, okay, I'm going to turn off this light. See, now it beeps because there's not enough light for it based on the setting, and now it doesn't do it anymore. So that shows that's working. It has a locking mode dial here. There's a program mode, and with that you want to actually lock the lens on the minimum aperture with the green 22 there, the f22, and then the camera makes all the decisions in any exposure decisions. And so if you want that, this camera does it. I'm going to take the lens off, and then let's look here and just watch the mirror flipping up. That looks good. I see a little bit of damage right here on this piece of plastic, like maybe somebody turned the lens the wrong way and dinged into that a little bit. Just cosmetic, it won't hurt anything, but be aware there's a little bit of marking on there. We can watch the little thing here come over to stop the lens down. It also works if you push the stop down preview button over here. Let's move over to the lens here for just a little bit. As I noted, this one does have the locking ring at minimum aperture. We can take that off, and then we can rotate this, and we can hear nice clicks. The focus is nice and smooth. And if I have this stopped way down and look through here, we can flip the little aperture control on the back of the lens. We see the blades are nice and quick. I'm going to open this wide up, and then another good thing to do is to take a bright LED flashlight and look through. And on this one, I do not see any heavy fungus, but I do see some internal haze. There is some of that, so that's something to be aware of. I don't know how much that would affect the picture quality. Before we put the lens back on, there's another thing that's kind of important to do, and that well, at least on the Minolta cameras, there's this little aperture follower here that engages with one of the tabs on the lens, so that the camera knows what the lens aperture is set at. And so it's important that this follower be sprung and work properly, and in this case it does. So that's a good thing. Now, to put the lens back on, we line up the red dots and turn it to the right until it locks, and it does lock. It releases with the release button, so that's all working properly. If we go around to the back here, we can pull the crank out and then lift up on the film rewind knob, and then the back pops open. And then it's a good idea to look at this to make sure that the curtains are in good shape, and they are in this case, and that the film transport is working properly. We can see here that is all turning nice and smoothly. And then the other thing to do is to recognize that now if you want to rewind the film, these sprockets are stuck. They will not go back that way. But if you push this little button on the bottom like you do when you rewind the film, then it freely goes back. And then when you start this again, that button pops back out. So film transport, both front, forward, and manual rewind is good. Then we want to go over here and look at this film door, and I feel just a little bit of sticky residue there, and I see a little more down here. What that is the light seals in these channels here are breaking down a little bit and transferring some of that onto these edges. I wouldn't say that it's absolutely necessary that it be done right away before your next roll of film, but be aware there is some degradation of those seals and that they will need to be redone at some point. The camera looks pretty nice. I don't see any scratches on it. Sometimes people would scratch their names or various numbers in them, and this one does not have any of that I can see. It still has this protective piece of plastic on the bottom. That's good to leave that on. The strap is good, and it's a genuine Minolta strap. It's got the Minolta name on here, and the shoulder pad is still pliable. The lens cap is the correct one, and the springs are good, so it will fit properly. I'm going to take out these batteries since they're not included, but that, so I'm just going to quickly open this up and take those out. This back in. You hear that click. There we go. Okay, and then this camera comes with this case. This is not a Minolta branded case, but it is clearly made for this camera. So we're just going to get that down in there and then fold these little piece is up around the strap so that it's held on. And then we're going to flip the cover up, just like that. And then we can snap it on the back, there and there. Okay, nice condition case. And then we'll see what this camera comes with. There's a bunch of paperwork here. Guide to Minolta SLR System of Creative Photography. That's in good shape. A standard lens guidebook. Okay, something about lenses. SLR system accessories. Another Minolta brochure that folds up. A book on lenses. And a book just on the X-700 itself. And lots of information in here about the camera. So all of this will go together. And it looks like a fairly nice example of the X-700. The only thing that I saw that looks a little bit substandard was a little bit of haze inside the lens, and then very slight degradation of the light seal material, which this camera is about 40 years old, so that's not at all surprising to see that. And that's something that could be redone if you have a service center do some basic service to the camera.